happy to have you with us today on the power of connection. The focus is always on what makes people successful, what their view of success is, and how much the power of connection with other people has helped us. So today, I'm very fortunate to have Chris Hubbard. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I met Chris. We did a top producer panel at Main Street Success at the end of last year. And I was really, really impressed with him and wanted to have him share his story a little bit. So Chris, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm a full-time real estate consultant at RE/MAX Reliance right now, specializing mostly in retail sales. I've done many fix and flips or wholesaling deals over the last, it's about 3 to 5 years, kind of had shifted my focus a little bit there. Average sales production, it seems to always be minimum 30. We've been as high as 70, 80 transactions per year when it was just me and my mom. My mom is pretty much semi-retired as of last year. But with sales kind of down, I feel like inventory's down, sales are down. But I seem to always hover around 30, 40 transactions. I was a broker owner with my mom for about 10 years. But we sold that franchise about, I want to say 3 years ago, just before COVID. Kind of stepped out from being a broker owner, recruiting, development, and retention, and just focused more on the sales side. Aside from that, I have a couple other businesses that I'm developing. I think I've mentioned to you about residential assisted living. I'm doing some research into that. It's again more on the investment side, and really focusing on the wholesale side of buying properties and assigning them to other investors or retail end users, and trying to maximize my opportunities, my margins, if you will, and reduce my volume. In my mind, it's work smarter, not harder.
Amazing. So you essentially grew up in real estate, right? Your mom was a powerful real estate agent. What was that like? And did you always intend to go into real estate? How did that turn out?
Yeah, growing up in real estate, or with my mom doing real estate, she was originally a stay-at-home mom. Then she got into real estate part-time, and she kind of just developed into a top producer for Century 21 at the time. I think she might have even been a manager. But I was always a working person, from 12, 13 years old. I think I know that I had cleaned 2 of their real estate offices. I always had different jobs. I was just always working, trying to make money. It's just something that I always aspired to do. But since my mom was in real estate, when I went away to college at Wagner College in Staten Island, I thought I wanted to be a finance kind of major, accounting background, and work somewhere down on Wall Street or in Manhattan. But when the towers went down, I kind of shifted my mindset of I don't really think I want to go into the city every day. So my mom presented me with an opportunity while I was in college to get my real estate license and just run some buyers around, take on some of her overflow. And I always loved the numbers, the finance side of it. I'm an outgoing person. I do like talking to people, hanging out with people. I think that's definitely a positive character trait that you want to have if you're going to be in sales. And having my mom and all of the people that were surrounding her, which were other business partners, as she was an owner of a RE/MAX franchise, being able to guide me and coach me and train me was just an amazing opportunity for me. Now, I mean, I could have done nothing with it, but I really took it, for all that it was available to me. And I just invested a lot of my money and a lot of my time into coaching and into development. So I always had a real estate coach, whether it was my mom or some other resource or peer. And I always took real estate very serious in committing to, actions and consistency. And if I was going to invest money, I always knew that I wanted to get a good return on it. Otherwise, it was just spent money, not invested money. So my mom really just set the foundation for me in real estate, which was fun and a great opportunity for me. I mean, I will always be grateful for her. But I think around my 5th or 6th year, that's kind of where I really hit my own kind of level there, and was really starting to turn my own business up to a whole nother level, and scale that, and start to leverage other resources to help me grow it even bigger and make more relationships with more people and investors and coaches and trainers. And yeah, it's been an exciting ride.
So with your mom as such a mentor and coach, and you really realizing the value of that, is that something that you've in turn done to pay it forward? Like, I would think you couldn't even help yourself, right? Is this something that you felt, gravitated towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think when, paying it forward, I'm just a very serious person, for my team that I have now, and my broker record now. I mean, I like having fun and joking around, but I am very serious, with my time. From the moment I wake up, I'm just super structured with my activity management systems. People call it time management, but you really can't manage time. It's just going to go by, second after second, minute after minute. You just really have to manage your activities. So if it's lead generation or lead conversion or servicing or marketing or personal development, I kind of broke it down into 5 categories. Your calendar really is only going to give you so much time, and your time has to be filled with those time blocks. So as I became part of my mom's brokerage, as a co-owner, as someone that had to recruit and develop agents, a lot of new agents would come in, or agents that have been in the business for a few years, and they just were not doing really anything, any production, or it was very minimal. They would look at me like I was this real estate, guru or god. And to me, real estate really, at least then, it's a little different now, but it's kind of really very basic. It's just, generating some kind of lead, having some kind of conversation, getting permission to help them, and they in turn want you to help them, and servicing, right? But to do that at a high level requires a lot of consistency and efficiency, and you may also have to staff because your time is going to be limited. So I was able to take a lot of agents on at my office and my franchise and develop them, and it's probably about 8 to 10 of them that I had developed, whether they were either brand new or in the business for a while. And I just showed them, some simple things that many coaches and real estate mentors, including my mom, had showed me. And also leveraging technology. Not that I'm this tech guru, but I've always just loved some kind of technology or platform that just allows you to organize it a little bit more efficiently or effectively, so you can grow. So I've always had this, I guess, attraction from some realtors that aspire to have more, because maybe I have the mindset or the attitude, and this is going back, maybe 15 years ago. I always wanted more. It was never enough. And I did
But
love.
that's got to be a problem.
It is.
That's going to be a problem, because if you're always wanting more, like,
Yeah.
you're very systematic, right? You do everything, you have a system, you have practice, you do all these things, but you didn't have a particular goal that satisfied you, and then you went on to the next goal. You just were striving and striving and striving for more.
Yeah, I think clarity is an important thing, so in my I'd say my 5 to 8 year career, that's when the sales were just going up. My 8 to 10 to 12 year, that's kind of when I stepped in as the manager and the co-owner and the recruiter of the office, and I was still doing my sales. Right around my 13th to 15th year, that's when I started getting in the investment side. So I was always looking for something more, whether it was developing the office, recruiting more agents, them having more production. That would be more net profit for me, my mom, my family, our family. The agents were winning too. Those were some of the best years in real estate, probably 2014, 15 to almost 18, 19 from what I remember. Those were some of the most productive years. But yeah, I mean, I was always looking for more. But I would say and I've always been with RE/MAX, which is, to me, the best real estate company in the world. Obviously some favoritism there, but the network, what I learned from the network is my net worth was going to be derived from my network, which means
talk more about that, because that's a really, really important piece to this.
Yeah. So RE/MAX has, a lot of amazing agents, and I have the opportunity to meet with them every year. It's the top 2% of RE/MAX worldwide. Just because I was at that level of production. And, sometimes you could feel like you're on your high horse and you're one of the best, but I was humbled when I would meet these other RE/MAX agents and team leaders and see everything that they've accomplished. And if I can get 10 minutes with them, or come back from these big events and do a Zoom and get some nuggets out of them, that would just in turn allow me to implement those systems or those strategies into my business, whether it was scaling to do more or leveraging to do less, or any kind of organization or technology or tool. I was always leveraging the network to learn. To me, really, it's either a resource, which is a person, or it's a tool, which is technology. And again, from people in my network, another investor person down in Florida, his name is Rod. He coached me and trained me on how to wholesale and invest. He taught me about resources and tools and conversations. And that's really where, amazing things happen. When you have, really clear conversations with people about your GPS, your goal, your plan, your system. And, you just always have to spar, which is study, practice, take action, review, and reinforce. And I learned a lot of these acronyms through RE/MAX and what they have called momentum training. And that's really where it all started to come full circle with clarity. Clarity to me is, knowing how much money you want, because you are pretty crystal clear on what you aspire to have. Money doesn't buy everything, a lot of emotions. It just will never buy a lot of emotions, but almost anything tangible money could pretty much buy, which is a lot of people's, aspirations. So if I knew with clarity what I aspired to have, whether it was in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, whatever it was, if I knew I had what that clarity looked like, then I could just break it down from there. And then I can create what's called an entrepreneurial mantra, pick whatever number you want, 200, 300, 400, $500,000 a year, however much money you want to make. And then I would just keep backing that out. How many transactions would I have to do? After money was paid to, state and federal, could I make more money flipping houses and do less deals and have more time? Did I want to recruit more agents and develop, invest time into realtors and build this big powerhouse, RE/MAX franchise? And then a lot of self-discovery was happening where, yeah, I'm great at all of these things, but what am I really passionate about, right? What really am I excited about? What do I get to do versus what I have to do? And that's really the choice, right? So again, getting back to coaching, I just controlling your thoughts, controlling your beliefs, putting your actions into place, making them habitual, will lead you down the path of consistency and efficiency. And if you can accomplish everything that you aspire to accomplish, I mean, I would think that's going to say a lot about your character, and it's going to say a lot about, you know, it's going to lead to the destiny that you intend to have and the legacy that you want to leave behind. So it all starts with thoughts, beliefs, and actions, but it'll eventually lead to, you know, the character of the type of person that you are, or how you want to be perceived, and the destiny that you want to create for yourself, and the legacy that you want to leave behind. So I don't know if I'm getting older, more mature, or, you know, more emotional. I don't know what it is, but to me, it's kind of totally transformed over like the last 3 to 5 years.
So when you say it's transformed, I think that one of the things that happens to all of us is we take a minute, just like you said, and you were like, you know, what do I love? What is it that I want to do? That when you want more and you want more, why do you want more? Like, what is really the thing? Maybe it's not more of this, maybe it's another thing. Sometimes you have to go through the not clarity to find the clarity. You have to figure out what you don't want to find what you do want. And I oftentimes look at people starting out in real estate or in any other industry, and I think, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And many of us have to go from knowing something really well, going into a new industry and knowing nothing. So that's kind of similar to you aligning with an expert in the field. So your resources at RE/MAX have taken you, even though you were here and you were great, you wanted to be here. So you really use those people as a resource to get those nuggets out of them. What's one or two of the things that were game changers for you? Like when you thought about it and you started to implement it, it blew your mind.
I think really the momentum training that I went through, which is really like business planning, or, you know, just understanding a lot of entrepreneurial concepts, the activity management systems, because I think I really learned a lot about just running a business and
not having it run you.
Yeah, because there's only so much time in the day, and, you know, I've always really felt that I've always have this higher calling, and there's a lot of tasks that could be, you know, delegated out. They're administrative tasks, but you have to be willing to go through that pain of finding other people, developing those people so they can do those tasks for you, so you could take that time block that has been draining you and just step up to a higher calling that may be more dollar productive, or maybe it's just spending time with my family, right? So, you know, to be able to get out of something, you know, you have to almost put somebody else in there. So, you know, I used to think it was like, you know, transaction based, you know, to make more money, but I would burn myself out. I've kind of realized it's, you know, don't move the money, kind of move the people, right? Because it's the more relationships that you have and that you can develop and leverage for whatever it may be, the better you will have of an opportunity at really growing, whether it's financially or physically or mentally, and just remaining in conversation, especially with people that you admire, right? Or that you aspire to be like, right? And just as long as they're willing to share, you know, take that for as much as you can get out of it. And again, it's a lot of working on yourself or on your business instead of working in it. You know, there's so many people or realtors and business owners that are just so sucked into working in the business that they're not working on the systems or the you know, the strategies that are going to create those reliable, predictable results, or allow you to leverage yourself out of those administrative tasks so you can, you know, go to that higher calling. So that's what I really learned a lot about. And a lot of my agents have always said to me, you know, when I was a broker owner, like, Chris, you should coach, you should train. It's like, hey, that's what I'm doing for you anyway. But they always felt I should do it on a higher level. But I'm not really reinventing anything. I'm just expressing what I've learned, you know, from all of the coaches and all of the trainers. But again, there has to be a level of passion. There has to be a level of consistency, because if you can't be consistent or passionate and committed, it's all a waste, in my opinion.
So when people talk now, you know, the real estate market is always changing, right? It's very, you know, ebbs and flows, and this changes and that changes. And in this current market, we have some challenges, and some of the agents are just, they're saying, oh, the market, is it the market or is it us?
I mean, for me, in my 20-year career, it's only gone up. My sales volume, my income has only gone up over 20 years. So the market in 08, you know, there was a crash, you know, financial crisis, whatever you want to call it. But I still did really well. I think I adapted, I shifted, my consulting was different, you know, short sales, again, relationships, just staying in communication and contacts, and just, you know, staying consistent, allowed me to do that. And my sphere of influence kept growing, you know. But fast forward to now, like literally right now, I would be lying to you if I didn't say my, you know, sales volume is down. Can we control the market? No. You know, can we control interest rates? No. But I literally was just on about a 45-minute Zoom before I jumped on with you, and I was talking to a buyer and really consulting him about different types of mortgages that are out there that he may want to consider. You know, the 2-1 buy down, or the 7-1 or the 10-1 ARM, or even just giving him, you know, some information on the tax benefits of owning a home and all the deductions that you have. Now, I'm not an accountant, and I tell him to go to speak to his accountant, but that's educating a buyer so he can maybe go down a path of self-discovery of, hey, I can do this even though the rates are what they are now. I can do this even though the inventory is low and I'm you know, getting outbid on some houses. You know, and we kind of just bleed the same coaching into our buyers, which is be committed to the process, not to the result. Have clarity, right? What's your maximum monthly payment? What's the total amount of cash that you have, you know, for down payment and closing costs? So it's kind of just the same thing again and again and again, and it's that consistency. But now, at least with technology, you know, you're having a lot more you know, face-to-faces without being face-to-face, and you could share at a higher level, you know. So technology has really improved, and I think that was, you know, the benefit of coming out of COVID. But you know, the market, listen, it is tough right now. You know, inventory is low, interest rates are high. I'm assuming we're in a recession, and there's a lot of uncertainty. You know, people are putting it on the shelf, whether they're going to sell or buy. So how could you still maintain, you know, your same income? I don't know, you know, diversify, you know, really, you know, try other marketing strategies, whether it's you know, right off the list, for sale by owners, expireds, you know, networking, you know, get back into networking meetings, your BNIs or your LATIPs or whatever they are. You probably just have to, you know, step it up, you know, with your prospecting, with your communication, and just be committed, you know, be committed to that process and not to the result, and just be in the game. You know, you got to be in the game in order to win. If you're going to pull yourself out of the game, you have no shots. You just got to make sure you can stay in the game, ride this out if you have to, and it's going to come back. But just be committed, be consistent, and always be improving your efficiency. Again, within those 5 categories: personal development, lead generation, lead conversion, servicing at the highest level, and marketing. And if you can hire someone to do some of the things that, you know, you suck at or I suck at, you know, everyone is not perfect at everything. Realize that, find the person that can help you, and then go 10x what you're really good at.
That's amazing advice. And you know what, when you're talking about servicing, I want to touch a minute on, you clearly have puts so much time and so much effort and experience into your business. How does this benefit your clients?
Yeah, so I like to call myself a real estate resource. And again, one of my coaches probably 20 years ago, I remember it because I had to lock my door with my mom in there, and we would spar, study, practice, action, review, reinforce a script. And the script was very simple as, hey, this is Chris. I have a client care program. I'd love to tell you about it. I want you to think of me as your real estate resource. And I'm not just here to help you with, a real estate transaction. Anything you need, home improvement needs, finance questions, tax questions, an attorney, estate planning, anything that I can think of, licensed electricians, plumbers, roofers. Like, I want to be your go-to resource for anything that you could possibly need that you don't know who to ask, right? So come to me. I'm your real estate resource, obviously, and I could be your resource for all these other things. And I just kept having those 3 to 5 dials and calls and conversations. And then people were starting to do the inbound call back to me saying, Chris, do you know someone for this? Do you know someone for that? And I was starting to build my database of these great vendors and great resources. And it was different conversations with those vendors because I would be helping them. So when I would help them, I would ask them to help me, and, just building those relationships. So people would always really come to me as, the go-to guy or the resource for whatever it may be. And then as I improved my knowledge on a lot of other things, which even being in a business networking group was a great resource and asset to me, because I was learning so much more about all these different other industries and having conversations with all these other professionals, which was just increasing my knowledge about a lot of other things that somehow, some way was involved in real estate. So I think when you're perceived as someone that could be resourceful, there's this attraction, right? Versus, someone that isn't. And the moment that you're in conversation with someone and they have a need, or they're commiserating with you about a problem, and you can find the solution, that person sometimes feels like indebted to you, right? So I would help, hey, you're welcome. And then I would say, I could use your help too. Yeah, sure, Chris, what do you need? How can we help you? And then I would ask for permission to follow up, or ask for them to think of me. Please don't keep me a secret if you know anyone looking to buy or sell. And that really, got a lot of legs, in my 3 to 5 year career, almost all the way till fast forward, almost 20 years later. I wish I would have kept doing that. I did steer away from that communication. There's different platforms now where I maintain the communication, but I wouldn't say it's as personal. So I think now, if I want to maintain this type of career and communication for another 2 decades, I have to get back to basics sometimes, right? But with technology, you could do that at a higher level, whether it's social media, videos, gatherings, events, networking events. There's all these other ways to hit your masses more efficiently, and embracing that and learning from the people that do it even 10 times better than you. You definitely have to be open-minded. There's no growth without discomfort. So I've gotten really uncomfortable over the years.
That's so insightful, because a lot of people get to a certain level and think that they know it all, and all you've achieved at that point is you've stopped learning. Yeah. And that's dangerous. But also, everything that you've touched on is really the power that you've used to not only serve your clients at this higher level, but you're serving your community. You're serving the people that also want to serve your clients, and you're staying in contact with them in one way or another to remain that resource. So that's powerful. I think that one of the things that newer agents don't realize is you become that resource if you let it happen. It should not be that you help somebody buy or sell and then you never, you don't stay in touch with them. You're not a part of their life. I think that it's so important, and it's such a great lesson to learn that you've really been doing that all along, consciously and unconsciously, right? You just keep moving, you just keep learning, you just keep growing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it just, from a coaching standpoint, it's always going to come back to those thoughts and beliefs, right? So, because that's going to control your choices, it's going to control your actions. And if you can be consistent and make those actions, habitual, that's where you're really going to see it start to compound. So if agents or realtors have a problem even thinking that they're the real estate go-to resource, that they have all of this knowledge and people at their fingertips to help people when they have questions or problems or needs, if they can't be in that state of mind, that's probably the first problem, right? But then, to be taking the consistent actions every day and being truly committed to it, that's going to be the second problem. So coaching is really the best thing for anyone. But why most people don't do it is because they don't want the accountability. Because when the results don't show up, the only place to really look is at yourself, right? I forget that saying where it's like, you go like this, like one finger's pointing at some, but the other three fingers are pointing back at you. Most what I found is most real estate agents, unfortunately, just don't like the accountability. And when I was coaching and developing agents, sometimes I wanted it more than the agent. And I eventually found out that was not good.
You got to be hungry. You got to want it.
And that comes down to the clarity, right? Like what's your why, what's your purpose, and really diving deep there. I mean, I've had interviews with agents and some of them are super successful now, and they don't work for my company or my team. They've gone on to bigger and better things. Mm-hmm. They've cried in the interviews that I've had with them. And, sometimes those conversations and connections are super powerful. And just that's like opening up the door. And then they step through. And then they get it. And then eventually it clicks, for them. Because remember, real estate is pretty basic. It's just, do you want to be held accountable to what you need to do every day to be successful? And define success, to every agent, it's different. It could be 50,000. Right.
To every person, it's different. Everybody's got a different view of it.
And don't look at others and say, oh, and compare yourself to them. You should just be comparing yourself to your greatest potential. Like, what do you want and how do you get it? And if you're not getting it, but you really want it, why are you not? And usually it has to deal with pain. They're not willing to go through the pain.
Yeah, and you have to change something.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's a choice. And I would say that's the last 3 to 5 years. That's kind of what I've understood a little bit better. Everyone's entitled to their own choice. You can't really want it more than them. And it takes a little while for people to really self-discover what's important to them and what's their why, and are they willing to go through adversity? Is it a want or is it a desire? There's several phases of wanting something, and some people just it's not really worth them even.
They have other priorities.
Yeah, they're just talking. They're not taking action. So. And I'm not discounting everyone, but real estate is pretty basic. A lot of realtors are getting into it every day and they're leaving it every day. I'm not saying that it's easy, but the concept overall is pretty simple, right? You generate your leads, you convert them to clients, you service them, you sell houses, you market those evidence of success stories and those relationships, and you just hit repeat. You just keep going and going and going. But if you can really focus another part of your time on personal development, and you're always learning more about what you don't even know that you don't even know,
Right.
yeah, you can become, this amazing resource to a lot of people that it's just going to come back tenfold. That's what at least I found over my career.
Amazing. Amazing. So Chris, I want to thank you. Your insight just is so, like, you've been down this development road, you've been down this hard, and the stuff that you shared is the stuff that lots of people hear, but they don't hear it, right? They're listening, but they don't hear it. So if you want to make that change, you got to make the change. And sometimes it's ugly.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is just be consistent and get the clarity and really find your resource, really find that support person or team and latch on to them and take them for as much as you can get out of them. And a lot of people just, I think, have a hard time finding that resource. And then when they do, really making that commitment. But if you can find that resource, whoever it may be, and make that commitment, you're on your way. Amazing.
Successful people will always share what they did because it's simple, not easy.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's storytelling, really, and I don't think there's too many people that have a story that didn't have adversity in it.
They all do.
Yeah. Or a lot of pain, or, it's expensive to learn. I've had a lot of losses, through my experiences, and a lot of bad stories. But, unfortunately, fortunately, I have come out always on the upside out of it. And even when I lost, I still have learned. So it's always been a learning experience for me. So I think that's another important tip.
The value of the lesson. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today. I'm sure you penciled it in, right? You got it in the calendar.
I did. I was 10 minutes behind on you today.
All right. Thank you, Chris Hubbard. We'll talk to you soon. Well, thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mary.